Okay, we're going to be looking at page 41 in the purple book. It's at the top, exercise 38. I'm going to cover translating numbers 1, 3, 4, and 5. And this is the lesson that comes just after the introduction to appositives. And so we're going to keep in mind the things that we look for when we're working with an appositive. And so if you had seen the video on appositives, you'll remember that there was just a little cheat sheet that kind of gave you the difference between predicate nominatives and appositives. And so here we see that there are the two commas we mentioned for appositives, that they're set off with commas, and that it's also a noun that's usually placed near to directly beside another noun. And that particular word is going to explain or identify another noun in a sentence. Okay, so we're just going to begin by identifying and going through kind of what we do in essentials: subject, verb, labeling, that kind of thing. And then we'll start to uncover the appositive pretty quickly here. So let's start with our subject. So we ask the question, who or what is man on account of the salvation of men? Or who is the Son of God, right? Christ. Okay, so I'm going to label. I bracket my things. I'm just showing you one way of doing this. This is not the right way. This is not the only way. Translating, you're going to do it with what makes sense and what you're most comfortable with. So come up with a system that you like and that works for you. This is a system that I like and has worked for me. So this is where I'm just going to be modeling. Okay, so Christ, we like to do gender, number, case of all of our nouns. So we know that Christ, Christ, us, Christ, e, okay, us, e, means that it is a second declension. It's masculine. So I'm going to label masculine. I also know that there is one Christ. That makes him singular. And because it's a subject, it's in the nominative. Okay. And then we're going to come over here. I'm going to jump across this. I'll come back to it. I like to go to the next question. What's being said about Christ? Christ is. Okay. And that is my verb. And I'm going to look to see that I have my subject and my verb need to match in terms of number. And so because this is singular, my verb will also be singular. My next question is, Christ is who or what? Christ is man. Okay, so we're thinking, that could be a direct object here, right? But we have to ask one more question. Can he rename or replace Christ? Christ is man, man is Christ. Okay, so man and Christ do work together because he also came in the form of a man. And so this will now not be a direct object, but we like to make sure we ask that extra question. This then is we just said it's not a direct object. This is your predicate nominative. And in the label of predicate nominative, it tells you nominative. Okay, so I'm going to label nominative. And I also know that man is homo hominis, and it is masculine. And let's see here. This is singular. All right, so we have nominative, masculine, singular. When I get to on account of, this is part of my vocabulary. I've learned that I know on account of is propter. I also know that it dictates a particular case, and so it's accusative. So I like to label this accusative knowing it's propter. You can also write the word propter up here if you want. And then I come down because I also know that the word that follows will also be in the accusative. Okay, so this would be propter on account of, and the word that follows also takes the same case. Okay, and then we will also finish as to this is singular. And the gender is salus, salutis. It is feminine. And then we have of men, which we can tell by of. Okay, don't forget that we have our articles. Of goes with a genitive. Okay, and men is homo hominis. So I come up here, homo hominis. Okay, and it's a genitive. But it's men, so it's a plural. Okay, so homo hominis is going to be hominum because it's a lex word. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and label this one as well. This is my genitive. This is plural, and we said it was masculine. Okay, now that I've got that labeled, we're going to go back to this that's set off in commas, and I'm going to look at the Son, Christ, the Son, and I recognize these. It tells me that I have another word that is identifying my noun Christ. And so this then is my appositive. All right, and I'm gonna label, and a positive has two P's. Don't forget, there's two rules it must follow then, which is it must match in number and case. So this will be singular nominative to match Christ, and son is also masculine, okay? And then we get to of God, that we know this is a genitive because we have this word here of, which sets it off to show possession, and I know that God is singular, and I know masculine as well. Now it's just a matter of writing it out, okay? Taking the words now, putting them into Latin, and we really are looking to pay most attention to the case and whether it's singular or plural when we translate. So I'm just gonna come over here because I didn't quite leave myself enough space. And I'm gonna do Christ as a nominative singular. Nominative singular is right here, Christos, okay? So I write Christus, comma. Now I have the son, and I have a nominative singular, filius, filii. Okay, if I'm practicing my vocab, I know it. And you can also look at your list if you have a list of vocabulary. Filius, filii, so I'm looking at its nominative singular, it said, so it's going to get this ending, just as Christ did. So then I do filius. Oops, sorry. And then of God is a genitive singular, which would be Dei, because we're working here, okay? Deus, Dei. Sorry, I've got a glare that you can't quite work around there, okay? So I have of God, comma, and then I have the verb is, and verbs of sum here can go anywhere, and I have an is right there. So I'm gonna place it, oh, sorry. I would do est. Gotta translate here, gotta get into my Latin frame of mind. All right, and then we'll do man. Man we have in the nominative singular, so that would be homo. And then we have on account of, which I know is propter, okay? Which is part of my vocab I've memorized. And then I have salvation, which is safety, salvation, welfare, which is salus, salutis. It's an accusative singular. I know I'm in the third declension because I just said salus, salutis. Okay, that's my indicator. And I'm gonna look for what is in the accusative singular. So I'm gonna make it salutem. So I come down here, salutem, and then I have of men. So we have homo, hominis, again, it's a third declension word, and we're in the genitive, plural this time, okay? And it's a lex word, so I'm gonna label this hominum, okay? All right, and our first translation is done. Now, let's go to the next one. And it takes a little bit of time, so I might have to make 2 videos to get through this because that was already 8 minutes. All right, I'm gonna try and get through this a little bit quicker this time, if I can. Here we go. Christ, the Son of God, is the King of Kings. Okay, so we're starting to recognize a pattern. Once we do that first one, we see a similar thing here, the Son of God, right? So I'm gonna just start always, I just have a pattern. You know, we wanna have a form that we follow when we're translating because it helps eliminate chaos. So I'm gonna go ahead and label Christ, and that is masculine, singular, nominative. I get to the Son of God, and I like to bracket these things that I can tell are gonna be separate because I know that Son is acting as a positive here because it's identifying who Christ is here. So this is a masculine, it's singular, and it's nominative because remember, your positive has to match, and so they do in in number and case. And then I get to of God. I know that God is masculine, singular, and genitive. I have that of there. That reminds me, the genitive. Then I get to my verb. I'll just simply label it my verb. And then I also am going to look back to my subject because we have to have subject-verb agreement. So it's a singular. I'm going to place a singular here. And then I get to the King and of Kings. Okay, so Christ is King. Okay, so we're going to look at that. I've got a subject, verb. Now, could this be a direct object that he's the king? Probably not, right? Because I start to recognize that in this case, it'll answer the question, Christ is who or what? He is a king, but king can replace or rename Christ. And so that makes this a predicate nominative, which tells me it's in the subject. It's going to take the same case as Christ because it's a predicate nominative. So I label that there. And we're going to do king. We're going to do, let's see, it's singular and masculine. Okay. And of kings is just simply, we see this is a plural here. Okay. It's a genitive because of the of. All right. And it's masculine as well. And so we'll go ahead and quickly get this translated to Christus. Sorry, that's a macron. Filius Dei est. And then I've got nominative singular. And I know that this is, oh, you know what? It's capitalized as well. I like to reflect those things. Rex, okay. And then of kings, rex regis, okay, rex regis, okay. And so it's a plural. All right, so we're going to go regum. And I should look really quickly. Did I do that right? Yeah, they actually did capitalize both of those. All right, so that is the next one there for you. Okay, if you're feeling pretty good, just go on and start doing the next ones on your own. I'm just going to keep going for those who want to stick it out a little bit longer. So here we go. Next one. God gave a kingdom to Christ, the friend of men. Okay, so let's look at the first thing. Who or what gave a kingdom to Christ? God did. Okay, and we know that God is masculine, singular, and nominative here. All right, God, what's being said about God? God gave. Okay, so I see this as my verb. And because this is singular, my verb will also be singular. Then I have a kingdom to Christ. Okay, I just wanted to look at that really quick. So I have a kingdom. God gave what? Who or what? He gave a kingdom. Okay, so I'm thinking direct object. Can kingdom rename or replace God? No, it does not. Okay, so in this case, this is a direct object, so we call it an accusative in Latin. And this would also be singular. Okay, and it's kingdom. Trying to think all of a sudden. Kingdom royal power. Regnum, regni, okay? So, regnum, regni. That makes this a neuter word in terms of gender. And then we get to Christ. Oh, we haven't seen that one quite yet. I mean, we've seen it a couple times, but it's not used very often. So you'll recognize that to is being used. So it's a dative. It is a dative and will be in the second declension here. So we're going to look at, oh, check it out. We're going to have Christo. So we'll get to the translation of that. But I understand that this then is dative, masculine, singular. Okay. And then we get to the friend of men. And we want to always go back and kind of just look at the sentence again. God gave a kingdom to Christ, the friend of men. Okay, so the friend here is going to be and a positive. It is a noun directly beside another noun, and it's also identifying Christ as friend. Okay, and so we remember there's two things that need to match in a positive, just like it has two P's. We have to make sure the number and case match. So this will get translated as singular dative. Okay, and amicus, amici is masculine. It falls in the second declension. And then we get over here to of men, and I see that of again, which is going to indicate genitive. Okay, men is plural and masculine. So now this is very different, isn't it? Okay, compared to what we've been doing, we had a positives that were always mirroring its subject. Okay, and in this case, we recognize, oh, we learned something about a positives that they do not always mirror the subject. In this case, the friend is now going to identify to Christ, meaning that it's in the dative. Okay, and so we have a different job here, a different case to be using. Now we're going to go ahead and just do the translation here. So we'll do nominative singular, deus, and I'm going to put gave, and I like to throw my verbs kind of at the end because sometimes I forget. Otherwise, you can circle it to try and remind you to come back to it. But it's a verb that's singular, sorry. So I just threw dit over here. And then I'm going to come back to a kingdom, which we said was regnum, regni. So we're going to come up here, and it's accusative singular is what I need. So it's going to be regnum, okay? All right, to Christ, we said was Christo. Okay. Christo. And then we have the friend, which is also dative. So it'd be amicus, amici. Okay, so we're going to go over the second declension, amicus, amici. And we're going dative, nominative, genitive, dative. Okay. And it's singular. So it'll be amico. Amico. And then of men, we've got a genitive plural, and it's homo, hominis. Okay, genitive plural. So it's going to be hominum. Okay. Hominum. And then we've got our dedit, which I'll just write a little bit closer for you. All right. And that ends that one. All right. I think I'm going to cut it off there. I don't want to make this video any longer. I hope that was helpful to you. Have a good day.